Hey guys, a lot of people have asked me how I make my bowls, so I figured I'd post a little video. I don't know, watch it, don't watch, totally up to you. I'm going to speed it up as I go through it, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. It takes a long time to make a bowl, I guess is my point, and I'm just going to show you the carving part of it. You need a couple of things first. You can carve bowls any number of ways. I use a variety of tools depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to use a shortcut method that I usually use to get me started, and I use a variety of other typical sanders and scrapers and scorps and other tools to remove material till I get to the point where I can fine sand it, and the sanding in and of itself takes a heck of a long time. So safety goggles, yep, gotta have them. Gotta have some kind of ear protection. You gotta have some kind of clamping mechanism to keep the wood from flying out and hitting you, which has happened to me a couple times. And it's real easy for a piece of wood to hit you in the wrong spot, and you're not gonna like that too much. Depending on your mood, you're gonna need some coffee or a beer or whatever else is your preference. For the sample piece, I'm just going to carve a small bowl, and I'm going to take this one from this block of wood which came out of my kiln. I hand cut this with a chainsaw. I was lucky enough to get this from a tree that had fallen locally. This is flame box elder. If you've never heard of it, just Google it and you'll be amazed by the red and blue patterns that exist inside of the box elder tree under certain conditions. This piece is not the best piece. It's just kind of a small scrap that I've had lying around, and I figured I could make something very shallow, sort of dough bowl out of it. And it's got an unfortunate kerf here that was made by the chainsaw. But I still got about an inch and a half, inch and 3/4 here. I think I can eke something out of this piece. I hate throwing away a potentially beautiful piece of wood. The thing about flame box elder is you just don't know what you're going to get until you start carving into it. The tool I'm going to use, I've got a standard grinder here. I'm using Milwaukee, doesn't matter what brand you use. But the key tool here is this carving disc. This carving disc is actually a wonderful product. It's made by Arbor-Tech. I found it at a trade show, and I've been using it ever since. Literally, I've beat this thing to death. I'm not too kind to it. I'm up to about the mid-90s in terms of bowls of various sizes that I've made with this. I don't make round bowls, by the way. I just make trench style, dough style, what I call a freestyle, which is whatever the block of wood gives me. But really, this is one of my main tools, and I don't want to do an inappropriate advertisement for these guys if I didn't believe in the product, but this has been a pretty good product to me, so if you're into this kind of stuff, I would encourage you to take a look into that. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to flatten this piece out on this side as best I can. I might take the planer to it as well, and then I'll draw out a hand pattern here, and I'll start carving it, and you can see the Arbor-Tech in action. All right. You can see how fast that moves the material. I always end up with a boatload of sawdust, 3 or 4 bowls, depending on the size. Usually ends up with a garbage can, a very large 80-gallon garbage can of this kind of material that I just take down to the compost pile that we have in town, and they don't mind having it because it degrades really quickly, makes great compost. So now you can see how fast that material got removed. We're a little bit closer here to having a flat piece of wood. I'm going to ignore this right now because I think this is going to end up being the bottom of the bowl, and I may be able to carve away some of that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flatten the top of this out. As you can see, it's not really uniform thickness, but it's pretty close. The Arbor-Tech will get you really close, and if you wanted to, you could use a planer. I don't have one. A flatbed planer. I don't have the room for it. Frankly, I just don't use it. Wouldn't use it. You can get pretty close with this if you want to scribe a line or something like that. The method that works for me is just to use an electric planer. So I have one here, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that. The only reason I do that is because I just like to have a flatter surface to draw my lines on. I'm not really that particular about the lines because I'm have freehand carbon bowls, so I'm not trying to prove anything about uniformity or anything like that. I'm just trying to make myself happy and interested in my hobby. But I'm just kind of doing it because I like the hobby. What I typically do is I'll just draw a line straight down the bowl, and depending on the thickness of the bowl here, I'll sort of establish that I think I can get about 5 3/4 out of this piece of wood. I'm not trying to overthink it. I'm also not trying to intentionally waste material. And I really don't have a design in mind. I never do. I don't think I've made the same bowl twice. I've made the same style many times, but they always end up coming out a little bit different because I make a mistake somewhere. I change my mind about something. And as I said, I have a compass somewhere. I'm not going to bother with it because, generally speaking, I just like to get it close. And I've gotten pretty good at freehanding things to my satisfaction. And the customers don't seem to care if they're not perfect, because I think that's part of the charm of handmade products. So that's kind of the basic shape I've got in mind for this piece. I'm a little concerned about this knot here, because I don't know if that's going to go all the way through the wood. I don't see any indication of it on the other side. I don't really see, but I think that's going to pop out, and hopefully it won't pop out too deeply into the wood. I don't know. We'll find out. Got to dig into it to see. So at this point, I'm thinking that I'm just going to do a sharp edge on this bowl, as opposed to laying out another line that might give me a lip of eighth or 2 3/8 of an inch. I do that sometimes. I don't really feel like it right now. So, as you can see, it moves a lot of wood really quickly. The interesting thing about working with wood like box elder is you start to carve in, you don't know when to stop, because the wood's beautiful, but you can get to a point where you've carved out all of the beauty or end up with a very pale white wood, which is nice, but this is where the character is. And I would have never guessed that we were going to get a kind of nice flame here. It would have been nice if this was a wick, but sort of roundish. I don't want to go too much deeper because the bottom of this bowl's a little funny. So at this point, I freehanded it. I could have taken the bulk of the wood out with, a drill with a spade bit or something like that. But soft wood like that, you can see how fast it removed it. I don't see why you bother. And the wood chips even with box elder are pretty beautiful. They've got red in them. So then the next step is, and again, I'm not too scientific about it. I just find the center point, what I think is the center point. Here's where I flatten the wood out usually, because it's kind of bumpy here, but it's not going to matter. And I'll just put 2 dots where I think the center of the wood is here, and I feel to where the edge of the wood might be, and I'm going to kind of do something like this. once you've made enough of these bowls, you get an idea of what you want. Don't think I haven't screwed up a few. I've screwed up a share of these sort of things, and those are the bowls that taught me the most. The ones that came out perfectly didn't teach me a lot. The mistakes taught me that I don't really want to make a lot of mistakes. Throwing away a good piece of wood. So I'm going to keep going. If you want to keep watching, keep watching. Basic shape of bottom of the wood. You don't have to do it this way, but sometimes I don't want to call it cheat a little bit, but what I do is I go to a chop saw and I just chop off these corners like this. I'm just drawing on there. I don't really never draw on, but just trying to give you an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little chop saw and I'm just going to hack off this little piece of material here on each of the corners because frankly it's just more manageable that way. So I'll be right back. Doesn't save a lot of carbon, a little bit, and I just like to do it that way because sometimes when you hit the corners with a spinning tool like the Arbortech turbo plane, it'll pop a larger chunk of wood out than you might expect. So I try to reduce that. At this point, there's a number of ways I can continue to go about this. What I like to do is I like to get these flat edges here a little bit closer to what will be the final edge. I do that with the Arbortech. I like to use the electric planer for that because it's more controllable. It takes off a nice straight line and gives me more control, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, word about safety, be safe. At any point in time, it's really easy to chop your hand or off with any of these tools. This tool is one very aggressive. Hold on tight. It takes a bit here and there, as you would expect, not as bad as some of the other ones I've used. But again, a spinning blade tool. Now, I haven't been drinking that beer, so just be careful. You've been warned. Same thing with the plane, but you can see, how nice that took that edge off. And, these little chips and dings and things, they'll sand out. And at this point, I can look at the shape of it and decide whether I want to continue to carve or what. But now I've got essentially, if you look down along this, I've got these hips that I want to remove and become a little bit more shapely. Again, totally up to you. The design is it's up to you. I mean, I'm not making this for anybody, so I'm going to keep going with it until I find a shape that I like. Okay, continuing, I'm going to go ahead and use the disc grinder. I'm just going to smooth all of this out as best I can on the inside and the outside. And I'll speed the tape up so you get the gist of it. job of taking down the high spots, which is really all I'm trying to do, and save myself sanding time. So now I'm going to get it set up for sanding. So I like to use a 5-inch orbital sander. You can use a variety of different things. But sanding takes the most amount of time, I think, at the end of the day. This is a 40 grit. This is very aggressive. You've got to be careful with it, but it takes down all the high spots pretty quick. And then I move up to 80, and then I'll move up to 150 or 120, depending on what I have, and then either 220 or 320 for a final finish. You can go a lot higher than this. Typically, when I'm actually applying finish and I'm wet sanding in between coats, I'll go a lot higher than that. 400, 500, maybe up to 1,000, depending on how I'm feeling about the way the product is coming out. So I'm going to set this up, and then I'm going to speed up the tape so you get a sense of it. Everybody thinks making bowls is so easy, and it's really not that hard if you have the right tools, but you better be prepared to spend a lot of time sanding. Okay, that takes me through 150. I'm going to hit it with 320, but before I do that, I have a little tradition that I do with the bowls that I make. And I make a note of the number, and what I do here is I find a spot that I like, nothing particular. I sign, date, and number. The bowls wasn't my idea, but I kind of like doing it now. So this one is number 97. And I'm going to go ahead and use a standard wood carving or wood burning tool, or I think it's an old soldering iron, and I'm going to carve that, and I'll speed that up so you can see that being done. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. Get the light in the way here, turn that off. The light, by the way, is very helpful to help me find low spots and scratches and so forth when I'm sanding. This thing is getting a little bit old. Okay, well, that's good enough. Give you a sense of that came out pretty good. And that'll survive the sanding, and it'll look real nice when it's finished. Still got to do 320. The nice part about box welder, apart from the fact that it's pretty, is that it sands pretty easily. Although it does have a lot of voids and things that you have to kind of live with. I've never been able to get a perfect piece of wood. I've gotten close a few times, but maybe it's just the tree I'm working from. I'm going to sand this with 320, and then I'm going to wipe it down with some minnow spirits just so you can see the color pop, and then I'll take it through the finishing and keep going. 320 is when you start to get that really nice feeling that makes it worth the effort of going through all the different sanding iterations. There's a lot of white stuff you'll see in there. Some of that's just sand and dust, and some of it are voids in the wood. I sanded this one pretty quick. I've sanded them to a lot finer degree. But since I'm making a quick video, I'm not going to go crazy here. I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down with the mineral spirits, which will get some of this dust off and show you what it might look like when it's finished. It also helps me see if I've got any big sanding scratches that I want to fix now, because once I start putting the finish on, I really don't want to start fixing things. And you can start to see some of the box elder color pop. I don't know how well this video is going to show it, but it's really an amazing color that I'm seeing right here, especially up in here. You get a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue, a little bit of sort of a gold, and of course the pinks and reds. It's one of my favorite woods, and whenever I can get my hands on some, I jump at the chance. And like I said, I cut it and dry it myself, so this bowl didn't really cost me anything but my time, and of course all the tools, the sandpaper, blah blah blah, but still, that's the way I like to do things. So I'm going to put a couple coats of wiping varnish on this. I won't bother you with those details. I'm sure everybody's seen people wipe varnish on bowls. I could use oil. The problem I find with oil is that when I send it to a customer's going to call me back in a year and say my bowl's drying out, and I have to tell them they have to reapply oil, which is typical of oil. Oil's beautiful, but it requires maintenance. The wiping varnish requires no maintenance other than perhaps a dusting and maybe some orange glow spray to make it feel and look a little bit more slick and shiny. Totally up to you. I can do it any way that customers request. I've built and sold quite a few bowls at customer requests too. So check out my website, see some of the stuff I've made, bowls and other things at churchstcreations.com, churchstreetcreations.com. So, hey, thanks for watching, guys. Oh, wait, 1 second. I realized I forgot that I wanted to show you something that, just to give you a sense, because a lot of people say, hey, Phil, you don't charge enough for your bowls. And some people say, why are your bowls expensive? And I say, you're not going to please anybody. I might charge $30 for something like this when it's done, 30, maybe 40. Took me a couple hours, right? And I didn't go crazy with the sanding. Now, how much sanding and effort do you think goes into a bowl like this? Now, this thing's not done yet. What you're seeing here is a little bit of epoxy. Sometimes I put a little epoxy on some of the cracks and things just to make darn sure that they're never going to expand. But this wood is very dry. As you can see, there's a significant size difference here. I can't really zoom out any more than I already am. How long is that going to take me to sand and finish, right? And just to give you a sense of something maybe a little bit different, here's another one I'm working on. This is kind of, as you can see, in the process that you've seen before. This is solid oak. I think it's red oak. I cut this from a log that had to have been 80 years old. So this piece of wood is really heavy, even though it's only about 8% moisture right now, which is going to be just a fabulous bowl when it's done. So I just thought I'd give you a sense of, if I'm only charging $75 or $100 for a bowl like that, how much time goes into that. I'm definitely losing money, but it's a heck of a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.